Okay. A kú ìjókòó láti ẹ̀ẹ̀kan o. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ṣé ẹ̀ ń gbọ́ mi? Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ tá a bá ń gbọ́ mi, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ mo fẹ́ ká indicate.
À ń gbọ́ yín mà o.
Loud and clear.
All right, sir. Mo fẹ́ kí gbogbo wa náà ní pé a kú ìjókòó láti bí ìṣẹ́jú mélòó kan. A kú ìsinmi, a kú weekend, a kú òpin ọ̀sẹ̀. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo wa bí a ti ṣe fi sùúrù jókòó láti ẹ̀ẹ̀kan. A fẹ́ ká pọ̀ díẹ̀ sí náà ni òun ló mú wa máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ gangan ní àsìkò tí a kọ sínú ìwé àbí nǹkan tá a fi ń pera wa pé àsìkò tó tí ò jẹ́ ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní àsìkò yẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n a dúpẹ́ wípé ẹ bá wa ṣe sùúrù, a sì fẹ́ fi àsìkò wa ṣòfò níbí báyìí. Níbí màá kí gbogbo wa lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí níbikíbi tí a ti ń darapọ̀ mọ́ ìpàdé tòní. This is the 194th Town Hall meeting of the Yoruba Nation Global Directorate. Ẹ má bínú pé ọmọ Yorùbá ni mí o, ṣùgbọ́n mo ń fi òyìnbó kà á. Bí wọ́n ṣe kọ fún mi nìyẹn, torí mi ò mọ Yorùbá 194. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ foríjì mí, ṣùgbọ́n the 194th of its kind òun ni à ń ṣe lénìí. Bóyá àárọ̀ la wà níbi tá a wà, àbálẹ́ àbí ìyálẹ̀ta, mo kí gbogbo wa tọwọ́tọwọ́. Ẹ ṣé, a dúpẹ́ wípé ẹ bá wa pé lónìí. Fún àwọn tó ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa fún ìgbà àkọ́kọ́, ó ní àwọn nǹkan tí a máa ń kà sí etí wa náà ni wípé àkọ́kọ́ ni wípé mute button, nǹkan táwọn olóyìnbó kọ sí ìsàlẹ̀, bóyá fóònù la fi ń wò ó ni àbí kọ̀ǹpútà, nísàlẹ̀ mute wà ń bẹ̀. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ mo fẹ́ rọ̀ wá wípé kí á mute ara wa láṣẹ pé wọ́n force wa láti mute. Unintentionally àwọn ariwo kan lè máa sá wọnú ìpàdé tó jẹ́ pé bóyá nǹkan tá àti ẹ̀fẹ́ kí etí mìíràn gbọ́ kan, but àti ànífọkàn sí pé mo máa gbéra mi sí ojú ayé ń bì, and it's even being recorded. So màá rọ̀ wá, let's endeavour to mute ourselves. Ẹni tí ó bá ń fi ariwo da ibi rú, bóyá ó mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ àbí kò mọ̀ọ́mọ̀, ó ṣeé ṣe ká gbé sí waiting room. A dẹ̀ fẹ́ ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ torí pé ọmọlúàbí ni gbogbo wa, àti pé ọpọlọ wa pé láti mọ ohun tí ó yẹ ká ṣe. So màá dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ wa. As we do that, let's intentionally mute ourselves. Àfi tí wọ́n bá fún wa láì pé bóyá a ní nǹkan kan sọ, wọ́n gbà wá láyè bóyá ẹ tú ara yín, ẹ sọ̀rọ̀, gbàyẹn náà ni wọ́n máa ní àǹfààní láti ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. A lè ní ìbéèrè, mò ń kà á náà títorí fún àǹfààní àwọn tó jẹ́ pé bóyá ìgbà àkọ́kọ́ wọn àbí ìgbà tó ti pẹ́. A lè ní ìbéèrè, àsìkò ìbéèrè àti ìdáhùn ó máa wà nígbà tí àwọn àlejò wa tí a pè láti wá bá a sọ̀rọ̀ lónìí, nígbà tí wọ́n bá sọ̀rọ̀ tán, àsìkò yẹn ni ìgbà tí a lè béèrè ìbéèrè. Tó yẹ pé a ní àfikún, bóyá àfikún ẹnìkan béèrè ìbéèrè, wọ́n ti dáhùn, bóyá nǹkan kan wá sọ sí wa lọ́kàn lórí èèyàn tá a fẹ́ fi kún, a lè nawọ́ láti béèrè pé ṣé àyè wà fún mi láti ṣe àfikún, or ká tẹ̀ sí inú chat box. Àwọn tó wà in charge chat box yẹn wọ́n á wò ó. So tó bá yẹ pé tí wọ́n lè dáhùn níbí wọ́n á dáhùn. Àwọn nǹkan míì wà tó jẹ́ wípé wà sensitive tí a lè má lè gbé sí orí afẹ́fẹ́ ń bí. Sùúrù yẹn àwọn directorate secretariat wọ́n á contact ẹni yẹn, wọ́n á lè ṣe àlàyé tí ẹni yẹn bá ń fẹ́ fún irú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀. So ìyẹn tó bá dìgbà ìbéèrè àti ìdáhùn. um láì fi àkókò wa ṣòfò, mo fẹ́ pe màmá wa, the directorate director, for her opening speech, Princess Adeola Atayoro Lamijulo.
Ẹ ṣé gan ni, ṣé ẹ ń gbọ́ mi?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mà.
Mo fẹ́ kí gbogbo wa pé a tún kàbọ̀ sí orí ètò wa ní ọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ tí a máa ń pè yín tí ẹ̀dẹ̀ sì máa ń jẹ́ wa. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run Olódùmarè tó kà wá yẹ ní ọjọ́ ìní. A dẹ̀ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run tó fún wa ní ẹ̀mí gígùn àti àlàáfíà, àǹtí a dẹ̀ dúró ìṣẹ́jú kan fún kankan láàrin wa. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run fún ohun tó ṣe láàrin wa. Mo dẹ̀ tún fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin bàbá wa, ẹ̀yin ìyá wa tẹ́ máa ń nawọ́ sí wa, tẹ́ máa ń gbà wá níyànjú, àǹtẹ̀dẹ̀ máa ń wà pẹ̀lú wa ní ìgbà gbogbo. Ẹ ṣé gan ni, ẹ kú ìjókòó, ẹ kú dìde, àdẹ̀kú ànáwọ́ sí wa. Olódùmarè á dẹ̀ fi ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ á fi máa rọ́pò fún wa o. Mo fẹ́ fi àsìkò yìí bẹ̀ wá wípé kẹ́ jọ̀wọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká fi ara balẹ̀ ká kọ́ ẹ̀kọ́ kan àbí méjì lẹ́nu àwọn panelists àti special guests wa tí a pè lé. And mo gbàdúrà pé ojú òní tì wá o, and ẹ ṣé gan ni, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo wa. Over to you ma.
Yes ma. Ẹ ṣé gan màmá wa fún ọ̀rọ̀ ráńpẹ́ tí ẹ bá wa sọ yẹn. Ẹ ṣé gan ni mà. Ẹ̀yin náà a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín tẹ̀ ń bá wa péjọpọ̀ ní ọ̀sẹ̀ọ̀sẹ̀. Kò ní sú yín, kò dẹ̀ ní rẹ̀ yín. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ bá wa mute o. Okay. So mo ń kí yín náà ni màmá wa pé ẹ ṣé tí ẹ̀yin náà tí ẹ ń bá wa pé ní ọ̀sẹ̀ọ̀sẹ̀. Àjíǹde ara máa jẹ́ yín o, bó ṣe ń jẹ́ fún gbogbo wa. Elédùmarè á túbọ̀ máa wà pẹ̀lú gbogbo wa. Ẹ ṣé gan ni, a dúpẹ́. À ń tẹ̀síwájú, ṣùgbọ́n mo tún fẹ́ rọ̀ wá tá bá ká túbọ̀ share invitation link yẹn. Àwa Yorùbá náà la máa ń sọ pé ká rìn ká pọ̀, yíyẹ ló máa ń yẹ ni. Ẹnìkan kì í dẹ̀ jẹ́ àwádé, èmi dé ló máa wí. Ṣùgbọ́n pàtó tí tá a ti jọ ẹyọ kan tá a ti tú méjì, àwa nìyẹn. So ó dẹ̀ máa ń wù wá pé ká pọ̀ sí. A máa ń fi ọ̀rọ̀ jomitoro ọ̀rọ̀ níbí. A máa ń kọ́ ẹ̀kọ́ kan àbí méjì, àbí ká máa rán ara wa létí bóyá nǹkan tá a ti mọ̀ ni tí wọ́n jẹ́ tún rán wa létí pé nígbà báyìí 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 ṣẹlẹ̀, àbí bóyá ohun tó yẹ kí a máa fọkàn rò nípa ohun tá a gbé lọ́wọ́, òmìnira ilẹ̀ wa, ìṣọ̀kan wa, wọ́n máa ń mọ́rọ̀ débẹ̀. So èmi gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹnìkan, mo máa ń gbọ́ àwọn nǹkan kan tí mi ì tíì gbọ́ rí nígbà tí àwọn amòye àti ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n tí a bá pè wá láti fi ọ̀rọ̀ jomitoro ọ̀rọ̀ pẹ̀lú wọn. A fẹ́ kó jẹ́ àwa nìkan là ń jẹ àǹfààní. So ẹ jẹ́ ká túbọ̀ pe àwọn èèyàn, àti wípé mo fẹ́ sọ pé bí wọ́n ṣe ń rìkọ́ọ̀dù kínní ó máa ń lọ sí YouTube. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ barrister, bóyá ẹ lè share link yẹn tí ó bá ti ń tẹ́ bá ti ń pé à ń stream àbí kankan, so that wọ́n lè rí ẹni tí ò rí àyè láti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa, but bóyá later ó máa fẹ́ ní àǹfààní láti wò àbí láti gbọ́. So tí link yẹn bá ti wà, màá fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ share ẹ jọ̀ọ́, so maybe we can put it in other groups, tá a wà, kí àwọn náà lè gbọ́ nǹkan tí à ń ṣe. Ó ṣeé ṣe kírú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ ó máa wò pé wàá ẹ jẹ́ kémi náà tiẹ̀ lọ fojú babẹ̀ ní ìjọ́ kan. Kì í ṣe nǹkan tí ara wa là ń ṣe ń bí. bí kì í ṣe nǹkan láti gbé ọ̀rọ̀ orílẹ̀-èdè wa lárugẹ níwọ̀n ìgbà tí a mọ̀ wípé ọ̀rọ̀ ìmúmúláyà gbogbo wa ní tí a sì ń fẹ́ ni, olómìnira ni wá, ní tí a sì ń fẹ́ nìyẹn. Kì í ṣe pé bóyá a fẹ́ fa wàhálà kankan níbì kan, òun la ṣe ń rọ̀ wá pé ẹ jẹ́ ká pọ̀ sí báyìí kí ẹnu wa lè máa ṣọ̀kan, kí ìmọ̀ wa kó lè máa jọra wọn, nítorí a nílò ìṣọ̀kan ọkàn láti gba ohun tí a ń fẹ́. A lè pín yẹ́lẹyẹ̀lẹ káàkiri bóyá nínú ọkàn àbí ní ìṣe ká sì sọ pé a fẹ́ gba nǹkan kan náà, a fẹ́ kí the same thing kó bọ́ sọ́wọ́ wa. Mo mọ̀ pé àwọn tó ní òye wọ́n ń gbọ́ mi bí mi tiẹ̀ mọ̀ sọ dáadáa. Látàrí eléyìí mo fẹ́ pe Apostle Raphael, mi rò pé bàbá wà ní ìkàlẹ̀. Mo fẹ́ sọ wípé kán bá wa tún ṣe encouragement fún àwọn èèyàn wa náà, ni pé bí ẹ ṣe ń ràn wá lọ́wọ́, àwọn màmá wa ti mẹ́nu bà lẹ́ẹ̀kan wípé kán bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ń pẹ́, but àìsí wọn níkàlẹ̀, màá pe arákùnrin Kọ́ládé Thomas. Ẹ ti mọ ohun tó yẹ ká ẹ ṣe, arákùnrin Kọ́ládé. Thank you, sir.
Okay, ẹ ṣé gan ni, thank you very much. Mo mọ̀ pé wà ń bẹ̀ nígbà tó ń fún mi lórúkọ torí ẹ porúkọ mi tán ni. All right, ẹ ṣé, thank you very much. Ẹ kúlé o, ẹ káàárọ̀, ẹ káàsán ní gbogbo ibi tẹ́ bá wà o. On behalf of the directorate, a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín pé a pè yín lénìí, ẹ wá, mo nígbàgbọ́ pé nǹkan tá a fẹ́ ṣe lénìí nǹkan ayọ̀ ni, and gbogbo abọ́ sí rere. Mo kàn ní kí n wá tún sọ fún yín nípa àpò directorate ni, bó ṣe ń kún tẹ́lẹ̀ kọ́ ló ṣe ń kún nísìnyí. So a need ìrànlọ́wọ́ yín everywhere tẹ́ bá wà all over the world. À ń bẹ̀ yín ni pé kẹjọ kẹ́ ràn wá lọ́wọ́ láti máa lè fi ṣe gbogbo nǹkan tá à ń ṣe, gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tó yí ẹ̀ rí, gbogbo bá ṣe ń sanwó fún kíní àwòrán tẹ̀ ń wò tá à ń ríra wa tá à dẹ̀ sí nítòsí ara wa, owó ni gbogbo ẹ̀ ń jẹ, owó ni gbogbo ẹ̀. So ẹjọ tẹ́ bá lè máa ràn wá lọ́wọ́ lọ́sẹ̀ẹsẹ̀, bó dẹ̀ jẹ́ lóṣooṣù ni, ẹ mọ ibi tẹ́ ń fowó sí, àwọn tó máa ń dáwó fún wa, a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín o. Ẹ̀yin tí ẹ pé ẹ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ fẹ́ máa dáwó fún wa, à ń rọ̀ yín náà ni pé ẹjọ kẹ́ máa fowó ìṣọwọ́ sí wa, pé tẹ́ bá ń ṣe nǹkan fún kérésì, ẹ máa rántí wa o, pé directorate wà níbi tán ní ìdìrànlọ́wọ́ yín o. Ọlọ́run á àbùsí Èdùmàrè, Ọlọ́run á bù sí àpò yín. Ẹ ṣé gan ni. Àwa ò kí ń kówó jẹ bí o. Ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá ní ìbéèrè nípa bó ṣe ń dáwó láti ìgbà tá a ti dá directorate sílẹ̀ tó fẹ́ mọye owó tó ti dá, ẹ bá kàn sí wa ní directorate, kẹ́ forúkọ yín sílẹ̀, à ṣe nǹkan tó yẹ ká ṣe, à dẹ̀ fi hàn yín ibi owó tẹ́ dá àti iye tẹ́ dá gbogbo ẹ̀ látijọ́ tẹ́ ti ń dáwó, gbogbo ẹ̀ la máa fi ránṣẹ́ sí. Àwa ò ń kówó jẹ bí, àwa máa ń kówó jọ ni o, a ní ìdìrànlọ́wọ́ yín láti lè máa fi mú gbogbo nǹkan ìròyìn tá à ń fún yín àti gbogbo ìpàdé tá à ń ṣe lọ́sẹẹsẹ̀ láti lè máa mú wá sí etí ìgbọ́ yín lọ́sẹẹsẹ̀. So ẹ ṣé gan ni, Ọlọ́run á wà pẹ̀lú yín o. Directorate secretariat àdán máa gbé ibi tẹ́ máa fowó sí ní ojú fọ́nrán, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ kẹ́ bá wa fowó sí. Olúwa á wà pẹ̀lú yín, ẹ ṣé o. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Winiran, Mrs. Apata.
Ẹ ṣeun, brother mi arákùnrin Kọ́ládé Thomas, thank you very much. In just a little addition sí nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ yẹn, bóyá a níbèrè lórí kí náà tiẹ̀ ń fowó yẹn gan ṣe. Ọ̀sẹ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ ni wọ́n sọ pé ká gbọ́nwọ́ sáwo, ọ̀sẹ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ náà sọ pé ká help. Kí náà ń fi owó yẹn gan ṣe? You have the right, ẹ ní ẹ̀tọ́ láti mọ nǹkan tí wọ́n fi owó yẹn ṣe, bóyá tí wọ́n ti fi ṣe sẹ́yìn, àbí tí à ń ṣe lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́, àbí tí à ń gbèrò láti ṣe lọ́jọ́ iwájú. So a ní ẹ̀tọ́ láti mọ̀. Ẹ kàn sí secretariat, wọ́n á ṣe àlàyé fún yín, pàápàá àwọn tó bá jẹ́ pé wọ́n ti ń fowó síbẹ̀. àwọn ní the statement of payment àbí nǹkan kan bẹ́yẹn arákùnrin Kọ́lá Thomas ti máa ń sọ wípé wọ́n jẹ́ káwọn mọ̀ in advance sí time tán bá bóyá wọ́n ní ìdẹ̀ wọ́n á ṣe all due diligence láti get information yẹn across sí irú ẹni tí ó bá nílò ẹ̀. Ìgbà kan la máa ń polongo ẹ̀ bíbá iye báyìí ló wà nínú àpò just for transparency òun ni a fi ń ṣe kì í ṣe owó gan tó pọ̀ gan lọ rẹ́rẹ́rẹ́ náà ṣùgbọ́n àwọn bàbá wa kan wọ́n sọ pé kò tọ̀nà láti máa ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn a sì gbọ́ sí wọn lẹ́nu kì í kà á síta pé iye tó wà ní àpò rí àbí iye tó wọlé rèé àbí lágbájá mú iye báyìí wá but we are transparent. Ìlú kan náà ti ní ọ̀bọ àtejò máa ń ti ń kówó jẹ kò sírù yẹn ní directorate so in essence ẹ ní ẹ̀tọ́ láti mọ bí àkáǹtì yẹn ṣe rí àti wípé kí ni wọ́n ń fowó ọ̀hún ṣe so wọ́n dẹ̀ ní ẹni tó bá béèrè kì í ṣìnà á béèrè ọ̀nà kì í ṣìnà ẹ má bínú o tó tó bí òwe ẹ̀yin àgbà so we have the right to ask and we have the right to get answers to our questions ẹ ṣé gan ni à ń tẹ̀síwájú nínú ìpàdé yìí mo máa pe arábìnrin Abímbọ́lá Markis wọ́n máa ṣe àfihàn àwọn panelists àwọn tá a máa bá fi ọ̀rọ̀ jomitoro ọ̀rọ̀ pẹ̀lú lónìí wọ́n fẹ́ fi ṣe àfihàn àwọn tí a ti fi ìwé pè tí wọ́n sì ti.
ẹ má bínú ẹ ṣe nǹkan mo kí gbogbo ilé o ẹ má bínú mo kàn fẹ́ jẹ́ kẹ́ mọ̀ pé bàbá Raphael náà ti wà lórí ìkànnì ẹ ṣe.
ok ẹ ṣé gan ni bàbá wa Raphael ẹ káàbọ̀ sà tíntínní ló kù tíntínní ló kù kẹ́ ẹ bá iṣẹ́ tán ní kí n fún yín ṣe ṣùgbọ́n ẹ tó délédè yín wọ́n ti ṣe àyè ibẹ̀ yẹn ṣùgbọ́n káàbọ̀ sáàrin wa sà.
ẹ ṣé gan ẹ ṣé gan ẹ ṣé gan ẹ ṣé gan
yes sir
thank you ẹ ṣeun.
all right so arábìnrin yeah I see you ma.
ẹ káàsán ẹ káàárọ̀ ẹ káalẹ́ gbogbo ilé orúkọ tèmi kúrò ní Abímbọ́lá ọmọ Marquis. I'm introducing the panelists today and their names are our Honorable Dr. B. Oyefule, Barrister Tinu Akinshola, Barrister Lawrence Talabi, àti ọ̀gbẹ́ni wa Samson Ademoye. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò gbogbo ilé. A máa ríra wa bá ṣe o. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́.
ẹ ṣé púpọ̀ my sister fún introduction àwọn àlejò pàtàkì wa so ẹ má bínú sí mi o ok ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ bá wa gbé orin ilẹ̀ wa ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àwọn orin tí a fi máa rán ara wa létí náà ni ìdí tí a ò gbọdọ̀ fi jẹ́ kó rẹ̀ wá nípa ohun tí à ń ṣe.
wọ́n sì fi ọtí kí àgbo fún ẹ o ò ní mú nǹkan tó ń jẹ́ kó máa mu àgbo all the time nìyẹn nítorí pé o ò ní tètè rí iṣẹ́ ṣé orí jẹ́ kí n sọ interesting fact kan fún ẹ àgbo tí mo bá sọ kí n ṣiṣẹ́ ju 8 minutes lọ. Alcohol will only work in your body system for 8 minutes. Then it starts to wear off. Ó máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní wear off. Ò ní rí iṣẹ́ mọ́. Jẹ́ kí n fún ẹ. Iṣẹ́ wa lẹ́wà fún ilẹ̀ ìbí wa. Tàgbéga, tàgbéga, tàgbéga fáyé rí. Ilẹ̀ wa Yorùbá nation ó dára ó lẹ́wà
ilẹ̀ òmìnira kò síbikíbi tí a lè wà lórílẹ̀ ayé tí a lè gbàgbé Yorùbá nation. Jọ̀wọ́ o Olúwa mú wa dé ibẹ̀ tọmọtọmọ tọkọtọkọ tayátayá wa kí gbogbo ayé lè mọ̀ wípé ilẹ̀ tiwa ni àwa yóò dé Yorùbá nation. Jọ̀wọ́ o Olúwa ràn wá ní ọwọ́ láti gba ara wa nínú ìnira. Kò sọ́gbọ̀nkọ́gbọ̀n tí Nàìjíríà fi lè tàn wá jẹ. Àwa yóò dé Yorùbá nation. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, ilẹ̀ òmìnira, èmi kò jẹ́ gbàgbé rẹ̀. Èmi yóò máa sọ nípa ògo rẹ̀, mo fojú sọ́nà sí ilẹ̀ mi. Oh my land, Yorùbá nation, I will always cherish you. I will always fight for your glory. I look forward to you, my land, Yorùbá nation now. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, ilẹ̀ òmìnira, èmi kò jẹ́ ìgbàgbé rẹ̀. Èmi yóò máa sọ nípa ògo rẹ̀, mo fojú sọ́nà sí ilẹ̀ mi. Oh my land, Yorùbá nation, I will always cherish you. I will always.
ok ẹ ṣeun púpọ̀ púpọ̀. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ mo fẹ́ rọ̀ wá ní ibi tí a dé yìí. Wọ́n ní kí n sọ fún wa wípé wọ́n fẹ́ rí gbogbo wa ní orí ṣé ojú ni àbí orí fídíò. Nígbà tí kì í ṣe pé ìpàdé ẹgbẹ́ òkùnkùn, ìpàdé àwa ọmọ aládé, àwa ọmọ olómìnira, òun ni ìpàdé yìí. Tí àwọn tí a pè tí wọ́n bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ tí gbogbo wà ní behind the camera, the meeting will feel empty. Á dàbí pé bóyá ògiri ni wọ́n ń bá sọ̀rọ̀. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, àfi tó bá yẹ pé we are in an awkward place tí a ò ní fẹ́ kí wọ́n rí ibi tí a wà rárá rárá, òun ni a ṣe lè sọ pé ká má sí ní kámẹ́rà. Ṣùgbọ́n mo fẹ́ rọ̀ wá, it may be a little inconvenient, but please, à ń rọ̀ wá ni. Wọ́n fẹ́ kí a rí ojú ara wa, ká má kàn rí orúkọ. So even that way we'll be able to place the name beside the face. Irú Dr. bàbá mi Oyèfulẹ̀ báyìí ní ìsìn tí bá kàn rí bí Oyèfulẹ̀ nìkan lójú screen, máa wonder pé ta ni ó ń jẹ́ orúkọ yẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tí bàbá ti wà lórí fídíò ní ìsìn, I'm able to put that name pẹ̀lú face yẹn. A lè sọ we may go somewhere ká pàdé ara wa ká máa wò mo ti rí ojú yẹn rí o, mo ti rí ojú yẹn rí o. Bàtà máa ń ṣèpàdé orúkọ yẹn pẹ̀lú ojú yẹn, then we'll be able to introduce mo máa ń rí yín o, ẹ̀yin náà wá sípàdé, èèyàn tún ní mọ́ra ju bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn náà lọ pé mo rọ́mọ orílẹ̀-èdè mi kan. Ṣùgbọ́n kákan máa rí orúkọ lásán is not good enough. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, command yín, kàn nípa, à ń rọ̀ wá ni. As much as it's convenient, please be on video. Let's get to know each other, by face, by name here. Thank you very much for doing that. Nǹkan tó kàn tí a máa gbé ṣe náà ni àti kọrin ilé wa. Okay. I think we have a guest speaker for today, right, Barrister?
Yes.
We have Sister Chino, Barrister Chino Akishola, who will be introducing.
Okay. So, yeah, mo fẹ́ ṣe àfihàn our guest speaker today. òdú ni wọ́n bọ́n ṣe máa ń sọ, wọn kì í ṣe àìmọ̀ fún olóko. So àwọn ni guest speaker, ẹni
No,
pàtàkì.
àwọn náà máa bá wa introduce wọn. Guest
Oh,
speaker.
okay, nǹkan tí mo ń kà ń bí ni mo ń ni mo ń sọ síta yẹn o. Introducing the
worry,
guest
sister.
speaker. Okay, ẹ má bínú.
Okay, sister, allow me.
I'm
Má
going
worry.
ahead of what I'm supposed to do.
Ẹ
I'm
má
sorry.
worry. Ẹ má
All
worry.
right, ma, over to you.
Yes, ma. Yes, ma. Ẹ má worry. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, my uncles, my aunties, and my I don't know, you're not my colleagues, and even some of my mamas. This morning, I know we'll be mixing English and Yoruba, but most especially, we would like to speak more English because of our special guest amongst us. And this is the fantastic and wonderful woman that you all have been hearing about. And before I introduce her, I just want to say thank you all for allowing me to make her presentation this morning. My name is Tinu Akinshola, as you all know, and I have the privilege of introducing Her Excellency Dr. Arikanashi Humburi-Kwao. I would like to read just a little bit about her because this is a very phenomenal woman that I don't think I can exhaust her bio or all the things, her accomplishments. But I would just like to give you a little bit. And then when you hear from her, in case you've not heard from her, which I doubt, but you will know why everyone always wants to pitch their tent with her. I have the privilege of having her as a mother and a mentor, and her I'm going to be reading now. Her Excellency Arikana Shihombori Kwao, MD, FAAFP, is the founder and president of the African Diaspora Development Initiative Institute, ADDI, and it's a 501c3 organization, nonprofit. It came into existence in March 2020, and its role is to represent all African. Her Excellency is also a medical doctor, as I've alluded to earlier, and of course, she's a founder and owner of medical clinics, and she's a diplomat, a public speaker, and she's an educator as well as an entrepreneur. She's also an author, and she actually, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, that she published a book called 101, Africa 101. And it's a wake-up call book, and it's a very one that is a very bestseller book on Amazon. And you all know that prior to her founding of ADDI, she used to be the permanent representative to the African Union Mission in Washington, D.C. She worked tirelessly towards fulfilling her mandate, which was to undertake, develop, and maintain relationship between the African Union and the executive and legislative branches of the U.S. government. The African Diplomatic Corps, the Africans in the Diaspora, and the Bretton Woods Institute. This was specifically in relation to the implementation of the African Continent Free Trade Agreement. You have all heard me talk about that. I've capped her every time we do presentations. She's one of the people who ensure that this came to being, and she's always tirelessly, every day, even up until now, even though she's no longer the representative to the US, this is her everyday waking moment, mandate, and agenda that she goes out to do everywhere in the four corners of the world. And she has a lot of achievement, as I've said, but I'm just going to go into what recently she did. In January 2020, after being featured having a profile in courage. Her Excellency Arikana Shihomborikwa was honored to be named 2019 Person of the Year by the Guardian newspaper, which is the legal newspaper in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In an article published on June 12, 2020 by iGambia, a reputable Gambian newspaper, Her Excellency Shihomborikwa was listed fourth amongst their list of 10 most influential Africans for 2019. She was the only female to make the list. And in 2024, Her Excellency Arikana Shihomborikwa was honored as one of the top 100 influential global voices by Leader Without Borders Development Center and received the 2024 foundation. She was also awarded the honorary degree of Doctor of Science Honors, COSA, by the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, Nigeria, and the honorary doctoral degree of science honoris causa by the University of Cape Coast in Ghana. Her Excellency Kwao is a fellow of the American Academy of Family Physicians and a member of the American Association of Family Physicians in Tennessee, because that's her home state. Her Excellency was born and raised in Zimbabwe, where she attained her primary and secondary education. She then left Zimbabwe for the US, where she obtained her bachelor's degree in general chemistry, a master's degree in organic chemistry, as well as her doctorate of medicine. Her Excellency Kwao is a proud mother of 5 children and very happy grandmother of 7 grandchildren. And it is with a big pleasure that I introduce to you our very esteemed ambassador. I always say Her Excellency Ambassador Arikana Shihomborikwa. Please welcome, Mama. Thank you.
And we still clap in the house. Let's welcome her the Yoruba way, please.
Thank you, my daughter, thank you, my brothers and sisters, for having me. And more importantly, thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a conversation with you this morning. A week ago, I was actually in Warri, Nigeria, and of course ended up in Benin City. Had a nice little tour of Nigeria, quick, brief, but very sweet. Had the opportunity to also address a group of Nigerians. And like my daughter said, this time is a time for African awakening. Like most of you are fully aware that if change is going to happen in Africa, change must begin in Nigeria. Let's make no mistake about that. When you talk about the most educated Africans, majority are in Nigeria. When you talk about the most intelligent Nigerians, or rather Africans, the most intelligent Africans are in Nigeria. When you talk about what it takes and what it's going to take Africa onto her rightful place on the world stage, make no mistake about it, it's going to be Nigeria. That is very clear. And so when I have an opportunity to address my brothers and sisters in Nigeria, I want to make that very clear. Because if Nigerians do not get it, Africa is not going to move forward. If Nigeria continues to do some of the dumb things that we all do in Africa, except when the dumb things happen in Nigeria, because of the population of Nigeria, the dumbness and the stupidity is multiplied. To the same extent that if success and leadership and true awakening is going to happen, if it starts in Nigeria, that means millions more, and the word will spread faster if it starts in Nigeria. I'm here before I begin my presentation to let all of you know that you should be of the frame of mind that as a Nigerian, you have a responsibility to lead in every position that you are in, because it is going to take you Nigerians collectively being of the same mind, being awakened enough, understanding your history, and refusing to continue to be a victim of the policies that were set out centuries ago by those who sought out to destroy us. So Nigeria, please, I'm gonna beg you to take a moment as an individual Nigerian and understand the role that you play in Africa's awakening, in Africa's liberation, both politically and economically. Now, getting on to my presentation. I have been asked to have various topics to discuss. And yours, I was laughing with my daughter. I said, well, let me guess. I think it was a group of professors and a group of lawyers who came together and came up with the title. So my daughter can share with you what we were talking about. We like to use big words. So I did to my daughter. I said, daughter, can you please just simplify it for me? What do you want me to talk about? I'm taking you back to centuries ago, when the men without knees, like my father would have called them during the time that colonization came to Zimbabwe. You see, when men wore pants, we didn't wear pants. My great-grandfathers called them men without knees. So when the men without knees came to Africa, they found an amazing continent, a continent that had everything and anything they could ever think of wanting or needing. They then wondered how on earth they could take it all and leave us with nothing. First, they knew we had our well-established religious systems. We had our well-established educational systems. We had our well-established religious systems. You name it, we had it. We also had something they didn't have, which was natural resources. Natural resources that they could only dream of. So they too set out to put in place a strategy to see to it that they take it all. But for them to succeed at taking it all, they knew they had to work on our minds. We were way too powerful for them. So they needed to destroy us where it mattered the most, which was the mind. Because they knew if they can take over the mind, the body would follow. I want to repeat that. They knew if they took over our minds, our bodies would follow. And that they have done. And that they have succeeded. Centuries ago to this day. How did they implement this program? First, they sent missionaries. And I'm emphasizing on the mind, and I'm emphasizing on what they did to us in order for you to understand that if we do not bring the change that is needed, beginning with the root cause of why we are where we are today, nothing, and I mean nothing that we do is going to change anything. So they sent missionaries. They brought the Bible. We often say they gave us the Bible, told us to pray with our eyes closed, and by the time we opened our eyes, they had the land, and we had the Bible to this day. And it wasn't enough that they brought the Bible. They used the Bible to acquire our lands. But next, they also sent the missionaries with specific instructions in order to make sure that we are fully and completely brainwashed. You see, we went to school and they taught us about colors, black, white, yellow, green, orange. But then when we went to church, in church, they said, oh, you know, there are these two places when you pray, and if you're a good girl, you are going to go, or a good boy, you're going to go to heaven. And when you go to heaven, there's this being called angels, and they're wonderful, desirable. They do everything that we want to do, and they're everything that we aspire to being. And oh, by the way, they are white, like us. They look like us, white people. But keep in mind, have you ever seen a person who looks like a white piece of paper? Let's never mind what we told you in school. When it comes to church, we are white like the angels in heaven. And by the way, there's another place called hell. There's a being there called the devil. He does all the evil things, mean as hell, ugly as hell. Nobody wants to be like the devil. And oh, by the way, that being is black like you. And we said, okay. But we never questioned that when we were in school, the color black does not look like me. The color white does not look like you. But we never questioned it. So Jesus said, let's go to church. And we sit in front of a Jesus who they call white, which we all know Jesus Christ was not white. Billy Graham, there's a famous video that I used to share with people. Billy Graham, the famous, I think he's a religious leader, I forgot which, where he's of course Protestant, but he has a video where he said, Jesus Christ was a black man. And I agree with him. Because the Bible said, hair like wool, crimson skin. We know when Mary and Joseph were running away from Herod, they were advised to go to Egypt. Because why Egypt? Because in Egypt, he would blend with those who looked like him. If Jesus Christ was white, they would have told them to go to Europe. But they knew in Europe he would stand out like a sore tooth. So yes, we would go to church. We would worship in front of angels that looked white, according to their definition of white. We would worship in front of a Jesus Christ who looked white like them. So subconsciously and subliminally, they were re-emphasizing the fact that when we worship the white angels, when we worship the white Jesus, we are also worshiping them. And when we denounce the devil, we were also denouncing ourselves. So the seed of self-hate was planted. We started running away from everything to do with us, our history, our culture, our religions, and we started embracing somebody else's. The self-hate, the seed of self-hate was planted centuries ago in a very basic way. And we never questioned it. We never questioned it. I'm going to have to pause for a second. I have somebody trying to come to my house. Give me just a second.
Yalode, are you in the meeting? I'm trying to reach you.
Dr. Yefule, I know you are enjoying the presentation, starting from the mind.
Tremendously, with a capital T.
I am back.
Thank you, Ambassador. Go on, please.
I'm also doubling up with the babysitting duties. So it is, they worked on the mind, starting with religion. As if that was not enough. They put us on automatic pilot of sheer stupidity, that from that point of view, we almost have gone genetic mutation, where the stupidity is being passed on from one generation to the other. No one, and I know none of you, have ever sat your children down and said, oh, you're black and you're ugly and you're undesirable. And yet they just kind of know it. Why is it that we've never questioned it to say, but That's not true. You ain't white and I ain't black. We've never questioned it. So let's keep that lane of automatic stupidity in terms of us feeling inferior. It's unfounded, it's unjustified, but it continues to this day. Then they figured out, okay, how do we go on to make sure that this continent is defeated once and for all? So they decided to come up with a plan to meet in Berlin, Germany, to discuss how to effectively see to it that Africa and her children are defeated and dominated to perpetuity. So it is from 1884 to 1995, 1885, February. They met in cold Germany for 4 months to discuss how to effectively divide Africa in a way that we will forever be chasing our tails. Have you ever wondered, why is it that you can drive from Zambia and you're speaking English? Before you know it, you're in Congo, you're speaking French. Before you know it, you're in Equatorial Guinea, you're speaking Spanish. Keep going north, you're in southern Nigeria, you're speaking French. No, you're speaking English. Cameroon, southern Cameroon, you're speaking French, English. And then you go to northern Cameroon, before you know it, you're speaking French. Keep driving, you're now in Nigeria, you're speaking English. It was all by design to see to it that tribes that used to be one, gigantic tribes that used to be one, give it 2-3 generations, they never even knew they were related. The larger a kingdom was, the more countries that came out of it, and particularly countries that spoke different languages. It was all by design to effectively and definitively destroy Africa. To this day, that policy, the Berlin Conference, remains in place today. I was speaking at a group of economists at the World Bank. They come to this, Ambassador, you can keep talking about the Berlin Conference. It's a thing of the past. That's history. These are 2 economists working at the World Bank, being sent to Africa to recommend developmental policies for African countries. They thought the Berlin Conference was the thing of the past, and that it is here that we need not be talking about. How does a policy that was put in place to destroy, to divide Africa and conquer Africa disappear? As long as we have a country called Togo, we have a country called Eswatini with its 1.5 million people, as long as we have a country called Gabon, as long as we, all African countries, including Nigeria, large as it is, we are subjects of the Berlin Conference. Until we unite as a continent, until we come together and speak with one voice, until we have one single African currency, until we have one common military, one stock exchange, one monetary policy, Berlin Conference is alive and well. And that's a fact. Basic things that if we were going to truly rebuild the Africa that we want, Africa that is responsive to the needs of the African people, the Berlin Conference must die. Do we even see it as an issue, or we look at it as a piece of history? We were meant to feel so proud about our individual African countries, solidifying the divisions, and hence the success of the Berlin Conference. Do we even understand the Berlin Conference and use it as a pivotal speaking point whenever we meet as Africans? The answer is no. Because many of us are too busy thinking about, well, I'm Nigerian, I'm Egyptian, I'm South African, I'm better than you. How long is this stupidity going to go on? When are we going to wake up and understand the games that are being played on us as Africans? Well, it keeps going on. So they worked on our minds And they worked on the Berlin Conference and divided us up into tiny little countries and economies that they could control from their faraway land. And then came the war. You know, the Europeans are warriors people. First World War, Second World War, they completely destroyed themselves. So at the end of the Second World War, they were so broke, Europe was so broke, and they tried to figure out how are we going to rebuild ourselves? And of course, there was always Africa, a continent with everything and anything they could ever want. So they came together very quickly, and within 3 weeks, they had established the World Bank and IMF. Entities that they said, now, this is how we're going to rebuild ourselves. We're going to take money from those nations, and we're going to make these people pay to perpetuity, and we will build ourselves up in no time. And that's exactly what they did. World Bank and IMF were created. The Bretton Woods institutions were created within 3 weeks, specifically to see to it that their success depends on our failures. And next, they said, let's create the United Nations. Let's bring all the countries together so we can really, really control them to our benefit. So it took them only 1 month to create the United Nations. Again, another entity that has nothing to benefit for Africa. It's all about them. We know this. We got enough educated people in Nigeria. They know it. They've written papers on it. The question is, why aren't they doing something about it? It goes back to the mind. They got us where it matters the most at that beginning. So when you ask me, my brothers and sisters, to speak on, I'm going to pull up on the title that you wanted me to speak on, which is Imperativeness of Self-Preservation for African Nations. Imperativeness of self-preservation of African nations. Until we heal thyself of the disease of the legacy of colonization, nothing we do is going to change. You take a CEO who is not awoken. You take a CEO who's brainwashed. I don't care what platform you put them. Garbage in, garbage out. They're going to walk into that boardroom with a colonized mind. They look at those who don't look at us, their knees start shaking. That little boy that knows that I'm inferior, I look like the devil, is there, hiding, scared as hell. And what do you think that little boy is going to say at that table? What do you think that little boy is going to do? Except the little boy is going to continue to feel inferior, and his decision-making process is going to be inferior. His decision-making process is going to be that which says, I ain't no good. Give it all to them, and I'm happy to see them do well, and I'm okay with myself and my brothers and sisters not doing well. Tell me, my brothers and sisters from Nigeria, I hear stories about Nigerians who are ordering pizza from London. They come home and they celebrate with their friends that they're eating pizza and a bottle of wine that came from London. And even the people in the room are I think somebody needs to turn off their phone, mute their phone.
Done, ma. It's done, ma.
Thank you. Tell me why. It's happening in Nigeria. Why is it? I'm told in Nigeria, if you want to get a contract, you take a useless someone who doesn't look like you, give them a 3-piece suit and a briefcase and ask them to sit next to you. They could be dumb as a rock. But because they are sitting next to you, their chances of getting the contract are higher. A Nigerian sister of mine asked me to come and be a guest speaker at her program in New York. And after the program, I'm walking out and this Nigerian professor follows me. He said, Ambassador, you can't keep talking like this. White people don't lie. I would rather work with white people because I don't like black people. I don't like black people. Black people lie. This was a professor in New York City. flat out comment. White people don't lie. Whoa. We got a long way to go, my brothers and sisters. So I have felt that when I'm being asked to talk about what is it going to take to put Africa on her rightful place on the world stage? What is it going to take to develop Africa? What is going to take for Africa to have her own, to build her own industry? What is it going to take for Africa to unite and speak with one voice? For us to take care of ourselves, for us to behave like the rest of the men and women around the world. It starts with each and every one of us having a serious conversation with the image in the mirror. Are you colonized? I know most of you are going to say, oh, no, I'm not. My own niece, I used to talk to her about this, and I tell all of them, oh, Auntie, you and your Pan-African stuff. So one day she's at the hospital, she's a nurse. She's getting ready to attend a meeting in a conference room. There was one seat left in the front row. She took it and sat down. And not long after that, here comes a white nurse, same level as her. And she got up to give up the last seat. But as she was walking away, something clicked and she said, if my auntie was here, she would kill me. So she runs back and grabs her seat before the nurse could get it. And the entire time she started questioning herself. If a black nurse had walked through, it never would have occurred to me to give up the seat. And then, right there, she realized that she was colonized, that she was suffering from the legacy of colonialism. After the meeting, she called me. She says, Auntie, you were right. I am colonized. Decolonizing ourselves, my brothers and sisters, is a lifelong journey. You have to continuously and consistently check yourself about your thinking and why you behave the way you do. Because you will be the next Minister of Health, the next Minister of Education, the next Minister of Mines. Is your thinking going to be in the right place? Or are you going to be that little boy who continues to suffer from the legacy of colonialism?
It's not what you say. Right. It's not ready for 6 o'clock. That's right.
Thank you. I would like to say, going back to the topic at hand, the imperativeness of the preparedness of African nations in building the Africa that we want is going to depend on what extent are we ready to wake up? Do we even realize that we are suffering from this disease? Our ability to heal ourselves from this disease is going to dictate our ability to prepare Africa to take her rightful place on the world stage. I was saying to my daughter that when I look at the heading itself, it says the preparedness of African. It doesn't seem like it's talking about me. It should be African people because the nations are made up of people. Let's talk about the people. Let's challenge our people. Let's start with this group right here. Are you awoken? Are you ready to do the right thing? Are you ready to stop thinking of yourself as a Yoruba first and not as a Nigerian and as an African? Are you the kind of Yoruba that sees a party going on, an event going on for the Igbo people, and you will show up? Because you are a Nigerian and you are an African and you have a responsibility to support. Are you that kind of African? The question is, I don't know. You need to answer that question to yourself. That is the spirit what this moment is calling for. Look at the Irish in this country. They stick together like super glue. They know when it's important to be Irish and when it's important to fight as brothers and sisters. We must know when we need to speak as individuals, when we need to speak as members of the same tribe, when we need to speak as Nigerians, and when we need to speak as members of ECOWAS, and when we need to come together as Africans. We have been so brainwashed that we're always thinking in individualistic terms. That has got to stop. Make an individual commitment. There's a program going on for the Kenyans. I'm going to go. I'm going to support the Kenyans because I am an African. There's a program going on for the Zambians, for the Gabonese, for the Senegalese. Show up because you are an African and you have a responsibility. And more, as we begin to show up, the Kenyans are going to say, did you see how many Nigerians came to this party? Well, maybe next time the Nigerians have their party, we better go. It's not going to happen overnight. But an organization like yourself, you can start it. Shame them. Show up. Make your little contribution. And that's how we slowly begin to change the minds. Don't wait for your brother to change. Don't wait for your neighbor to change. Don't take ownership of what others do not do that you have no control over. Take ownership of what you can do. Show up. Support other Africans. Support other Nigerians who are not Yorubas, because you have a responsibility. So to answer the question about the preparedness of African nations, it starts with you and your mind. Thank you, my brothers and sisters, for having me.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you very much. People have been blessed, and there's been so many messages on the WhatsApp about your messages. And I know you've got the grandchildren. God bless them. And we just will be privileged to have the opportunity for few interaction between yourself and our panelists. And by then, I'm very, very sure that they will gladly release you to go.
So
right now,
I'm going to do, if you allow me, I will be in car driving. I can be on speaker, and okay. I'll interact on speaker. I'll make sure they stay quiet.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
much. You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you. We appreciate you. We love you. And we pray the God of Africa will continue to strengthen you. And the spirit of our forefathers, like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrick Lumumba, and the rest of them that had the foresight to think Africa must be free. And our leaders who sang about freedom of Africa, I pray the spirit will rest upon you, and it will bring you as far as the Almighty God will enable you in the course of your life to achieve for Africa. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to log off, but once I'm in the car, I'll log back in. Thank you.
Okay, man. No problem.
Thank you, Excellency.
All right. Thank you.
I'll message you when I'm getting ready to log back in. Thank you.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. In the meantime, I'll play some African music and just serve as an interlude for us. Is that okay, people?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, Mr. Onigemo Ekpelesa, I saw what he just put in the chat. It's true. Anytime you hear ambassadors speak, you can't but to tear up. And I'm not saying this because I know her, but because I've been at her event several times and I've heard her speak. And even when she talks widely about Africa, she always brings you back to yourself. Yes, sir.
Sister Tino, Emma,
yes, sir.
Because of the recording, we won't be able to edit this. Oman everything last week. This edit because there are so many things we need to take off before we can do a public presentation of the video. So perhaps if we just play some music as an interlude, when she comes back, and we'll flow with that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. No problem.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next song comes from Tanzania. It's a song in Swahili, a love song. It simply says, Malaika nakupenda malaika, which simply means, I love you, my angel. Malaika, nakupenda malaika. Malaika, nakupenda malaika. Ningekuoa madiwe.
Can the panelists please get one question ready for the ambassador? One question from the panelists to the ambassador and the members of the audience also. If you have any question, not more than one, please. Thank you.
Nashindwana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Pesa zasumbua roho yangu, pesa zasumbua roho yangu. Nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Kidege hukuwaza, kidege kidege hukuwaza, kidege. Nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Ewa malaika, nakupenda malaika. Malaika, nakupenda malaika. Nami nifanyeje kijana mwenzio, nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Nashindana mali sina we, ningekuoa malaika. Ningekuoa malaika. Ningekuoa malaika.
My people, there was fire in Angola. people. Riot in Mozambique, affecting all my people. Fighting in Namibia, crushing all my people. A shooting in Soweto, hey, a killing all my people. Rebel in Zimbabwe, victimizing all my people. I look at them a bunny, my people are crying. I look at them a shooting, my people are dying. I look at them a robbing, my people are sighing. Tell me where you gonna go when the best go. Tell me where you gonna hide when the best go. I say where you gonna run when the luck come down. I say what you gonna do when you find out the truth. The color of God, neither black nor white. We did nothing, nothing that we owe you. We need something, will you leave us alone? We have reason, freedom is our goal. 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 Africa is our home. Freedom is our goal. Freedom is our goal. Freedom is our goal. Will you leave us alone? Freedom is our goal. Freedom is our home. Freedom is our goal. A fire is a winter, burning on my people. Fire in Angola, burning on my people. Riot in Mozambique, affecting all my people. Fighting in Namibia, crushing all my people. A shooting in Soweto, killing all my people. A rebel in Zimbabwe, victimizing all my people. I look at them a shooting, my people are dying. I look at them a burning, my people are crying. I look at them a robbing, my people are sighing. Tell me where you gonna go when the best come.
The Quran. At the end of the day, it's still the seed of Abraham, still the same thing, same set of ideologies. Don't stop what. So more Africa from that perspective, we how much income can win to disturb what can the strategy in contact delay in such a way to we fight whatever battle we fight in such a way we want to get problem as a collect. I don't really fancy this idea of we come Ojo Pagila back on that part of seeing it will not help the future of our journey. Will it help? But obviously, Alijowa presentation one. I want to let the very clear. Do you know this point of view and all of that? Because I went by Tony, apart I can understand.
Thank you. Sister Chino, do you want to respond?
Yes, but mi ò mọ nǹkan tí question tẹ́ béèrè kó tó di pé wọ́n sọ nǹkan tó ń sọ ṣé mo ìsọ̀rọ̀ ní gbèsè. So but ní nǹkan tí mo bá lẹ́nu yín Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn, you are very much right, thinking in the line tẹ́ ń ṣe, but for all intent and purposes, perhaps nítorí ibi tó ń lọ, and then mo mọ̀ pé I've heard her speak on the Islam part. No, you don't even want to hear her thoughts lórí yẹn because téèyàn bá ń sọ wípé ọ̀rọ̀ báíbù nìkan tán fún wa báíbù tá a díjú tá by the time tá a máa lajú wọ́n ti gbá ilẹ̀ wa àní ilẹ̀ nìkan kọ́ náà gbà they took away the resources àti even gbogbo nǹkan tó jẹ́ nǹkan tó wà lókè àti tó wà nísàlẹ̀ àti àwọn èèyàn tó ń tẹ̀ǹdẹ̀ pàápàá. So I don't think she's oblivious of that fact. And mo tún try láti fẹ́ ká understand nǹkan tẹ́mi rí because ṣe mọ̀ pé tá a bá kó èèyàn
Sorry,
mẹ́ta.
Sister Tenu, to interrupt you. For the benefit of our sister who is a non-Yoruba speaking person, perhaps if we can just speak in English.
Yeah, that's
thank
what
you.
I thought, but I didn't know if she's back or not. So
She's there. No, we have a sister.
Okay. Ambassador is back.
Yeah.
Okay, and I even see few people who are Africans here. So I was saying that I didn't know what the question you threw to the floor before I came back to put up my video, but yet from what I garnered from Amotekon's assertions, so I'm thinking that, of course, Ambassador, Her Excellency, I know that you don't even want to hear her when she's speaking regarding the other part that you indicated, and I'm talking in terms of the Arabs or the Quran and all that, because there are two sides to a coin. It's not just one side. So, and I am quite in agreement with you at that, but I know that she knows that, and perhaps given the few minutes that she had to spend with us, that's why she just wrapped up and summed up in that angle, thinking that, we, the Yorubas, we have that expression that says, as in, we only speak in parables, and when you can know it, you can decipher it, and it sink into your brain, and you know what to do with it. So that's what I thought she did with all the things that she had to present. But for me, I appreciate that presentation. But then what I garnered, like I was trying to say, that if we have 3 people into the fields now, we maybe reporters, even journalists, you tell them, go out into the fields and give us your observation, write a report. Each one of us will write different stories and report, even based on the same thing that we are looking at, because of the fact that perception differs. And Dr. Yefule is here. He's our psychiatrist, he can decipher that too. So because where I'm looking, it depends on my vantage point of view and what I heard when I'm on the ground and the people I spoke with may not necessarily be the people you will be speaking with if you were given the duties and responsibilities of doing the same thing. All 3 of us are in the same field, observing the same thing, but our reports, of course, will be totally different. Not even we might, let me say might, because we may have some things that will be similar or the same, but necessarily we will not all have 100% report of the same thing. Exactly, in exactitude. So if you know what I mean. So from what I garnered, I know that was even towards the end of her presentation, because she started with the Berlin conference, the reason why we are who we are, and how we think in certain still with the colonized mind. So, and then I know that she said something about, because I was thinking, how can Ambassador weave in, we the Yorubas, we want to be us. And we are Yorubas. We know we want to do Yoruba first. And then we love our neighbors. We love our brothers and sisters who we share the same country with. So how will she address us? And she and I did not speak about this thing that she mentioned at the end of our presentation, because we said a lot yesterday. And so I heard her say, review you, think inward, look in the mirror, look at yourself. You are a Yoruba first, right? But Go out, collaborate, support, and I wrote it down here. She said coalesce. She said collaborate. She said command your own. And when she said command your own, I see myself as Yoruba. Before she even say, okay, you want to change somebody, change yourself first as a Yoruba person. Do what is right within you. And this is me talking. So I'm a stakeholder. I'm going to take ownership as a Yoruba person. And that is exactly what we are doing as Yoruba Nation, even on this forum. How do we be that Yoruba-ness? And Amotekun, you raised that subject. And that's why every week
Tina, I'm
after
so
week.
sorry. Ambassador's back.
Okay. Let me finish this thought. Week after week, we are talking about Yoruba. So when we get ourselves, then it's easier to love our neighbors, then it's easier to own our own, it's easier to collaborate and encourage and support all the other African countries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ambassador.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Ambassador, I don't know if you have anything to say before our distinguished gentleman and lady engage you. Do you have any?
You guys go ahead. No, I'm available. I'm all yours.
All right, thank you. Dr. B.
Ambassador look European now.
Oh, please, can you mute yourself, please? Can we not interfere? Who is that? Please. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. B. Yefule, you have Ambassador here. And
yes, thank you very much. I'm going to make it two-pronged. I thought Sister Tinu would finish talking before the ambassador came on, and I was going to give an answer to both her and to Amotekun. Then I was going to go on and ask the ambassador a question, and if you allow me, I can do the first one in one sentence, then I can use the second sentence to talk to the ambassador.
That's fine. Go ahead, sir.
What Amotekun said is very, very thought-provoking. So also was what Sister Tinu said, very thought-provoking. But one thing we all have to, and I'm going to say this because Sister Tinu said, because I'm a psychiatrist, I should weigh in or something of that nature. I will weigh in this way. First of all, there is no single human language that can capture all human thought. Not a single language. Our thought is far in advance of our linguistic ability. Our thought supposedly is in the frontal lobe and it's very developed. Our speech is in the parietal lobe, speech area 42, they call it in neuroscience. So it can never catch up with that frontal lobe. So Amotekun, what she said encompasses everything. And if you put everything in each language group, you will see that it's applicable. And having said that, I will go on and ask the ambassador. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
It's a very big honor to listen to you. We all see you on YouTube, and we are enamored, encouraged, and happy to be able to listen to you and see that at least we have one Mama Africa who is actually, without making any effort whatsoever, is leading the African continent in the ability to think back into our own self. We need to recognize that these people that we spoke about have devised the ways to make us feel inferior, to make us feel we do not have what we have. Having said that, Honorable Ambassador, I would like to ask, what is the purpose? And I think I know what your answer will be, but I'm still going to ask it. What is the main purpose of looking back into history to understand what's going on now and how we can all modulate the future? History first, Ambassador.
Well, the problem is most of us are not aware that our minds are not in the right place, that our thinking is not in the right place. But I think when you begin to understand what has been done to your mind, it becomes easier to deal with it. Let me share with you, and I'm sure some of you have seen the video of the little 5-year-old boy who was given a set of white dolls and a set of black dolls. And he was asked, which ones are mean? And he pointed at the black ones. Which ones are beautiful? He pointed at the white ones. Which ones are nice? He pointed at the nice ones. Which ones are ugly? He pointed at the black one. He was then asked, which ones look more like you? And reluctantly, he points at the black one. So the young boy at 5 years of age, his mind is already formulated as to who he is. He's ugly, he's mean, he's undesirable. And the other side is beautiful, lovely, and desirable. I know no self-respecting mother, father, auntie, uncle sat that boy down and told him all that. The messages are subliminal and they're all around him. When that boy begins to understand that there are games being played on him even before he is born, I encourage all of you to read the book, Willie Lynch, The Making of a Slave. When Willie Lynch was conditioning the slaves, he would make sure that one of his favorite things to do was to tie a black man on one horse, one leg on one horse facing in one direction, and he would tie the other leg facing the other direction. And then he would bring mothers and their children and other slaves to watch this being done to this black man. But more importantly, he wanted the pregnant one. He wanted these subliminal messages and visions to go to the unborn. So this fear is instilled in even the unborn. So he would hit the horses, and the two horses would run in opposite directions, thereby splitting the slave into two. He wanted this fear to be instilled into the slaves, particularly the pregnant mothers. So this fear of white people is instilled in us. It affects everything that we do. So when you understand the response of that boy grows up to be the next minister of education. That boy grows up to become the next black president. What kind of a leader is that boy going to be? We want that boy to understand that he is a victim of a well-orchestrated system. That's all of us. None of us black people are exempt. So you question yourself, like the example I gave about my niece. Now she's constantly questioning herself. She's still mad at herself that she would not have given up a seat for a black nurse. But she readily, without thinking like an idiot, she gave up the seat for a white woman. So it's an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing, relentless healing process that we all must be aware of. But until you accept the fact that you are suffering from that disease, how do you begin to heal? So when you go into that boardroom, I want you to be confident and be proud of being an African, that no one in this room is smarter than you. No one in this room is more beautiful than you. In fact, you should be in that boardroom and say, I own this room. I used to do this intentionally in Washington. I wanted to make sure they all waited for me because I am the African ambassador and I matter, and you all should respect me. Demand it because I represented Africa. So you're not going to mess with me. And yes, if I make you wait, you deserve to wait for me because I am an African and I am representing 1.4 billion people. You are representing 300 million people. Let's call a spade a spade. Who is more important? I am important, and I don't need you to tell me that I'm important because I know I am important. When every African stands up and feels that way, Wherever we are, remember you are representing 1.4 billion people. Stand up and make them know that when you walk into that room, they respect you. You demand it. Do we have that kind of? We need a critical mass of that kind of an African. And that's what's happening in Burkina Faso. That's what's happening in Mali. That's what's happening in Niger. We need a critical mass of Africans who are proud to be Africans. But it's a constant, everyday process of reminding yourself that you're better than all of them. That's what is what needed. So yes, history is important, but when you understand the history, it is easier for you to understand what has been done to you, and it's easier for you to heal. And also it helps you understand their mentality and how they see you. They automatically see you as a nobody. So you gotta let them know, no, you're not. They're wrong. But when you continue to behave in the way that fits into their own narrative and what they're being told, white people are automatically told they're better than us. They automatically know it because that's all they're told. They're told black people are stupid. They're told black people are stupid. So you have to undo that thinking. So they have been lied to about being superior to us. We have been lied to about being inferior to them. So while we are healing, they too must heal. And the only way for them to heal is to see a different black man and black woman.
Thank you. Doctor?
Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you. Before we return to the panelists, I think it may be appropriate to bring in somebody from the audience. I'm thinking of Ambassador Tokumbo Liyadu. Ambassador, welcome back. Hello, ma.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma. Ambassador Tokumbo.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Is there anything you would like to ask
in.
or say to the ambassador?
Oh, well, well, what's actually elude me when you are facing someone like Ambassador Adfrican, being someone who has a background in regional integration, I kind of appreciate where she's coming from. And I think I took note of what she said about if Africa was to change. Sorry about that.
Sorry, we can't see your face, ma. Oh, bless you. Thank you, ma.
If Africa was to change, the change has to begin from Nigeria. And there were quips and things, that they used to talk about. If when Nigeria sneezes, Africa catches a cold. I don't know. Of recent, we haven't been behaving in a manner to justify that particular, belief. And then she said something. We're talking about thinking Africa and not thinking tribes. What I gathered a little while ago from her before the system locked me out was that we need to decolonize ourselves. We need to decolonize ourselves at the level of individuals. And if we, at the level of individuals, decolonize ourselves, and we still have leaders who are still entrapped in that web of colonialism, what's going to be the outcome? It's probably not. It probably will go to no effect. We need to have a gathering of Africans. I know Ambassador Adfrican is quite familiar with the setting of the African Union, but I think African leaders need to listen to her over and over again for them to start thinking as Africans, to start thinking as those that are out of the web of colonialism, so that they will be able to lead Africans who have at individual levels actually decolonized themselves. ECOWAS as a sub-regional machinery for interdependence and regional cooperation and integration is kind of shaking now simply because of the ties to colonial Burkina Faso and Mali, and we think they are coming out of the woods. I am still watching. I appreciate I don't even know how you got her to come to this forum today, but I'm really appreciative of it. I'm really appreciative of her delivery, who she is, and what she has, done so far that we all know about, and what we know we still can rely on her to do in future. I think she is a giant of African integration, and I'm glad that she's a woman like the rest of us, and she's not to be taken for granted. And when we look at people like her, we actually want to say, when I grow up, I want to be like Ambassador Arikana, that kind of thing. Because this is where we need to be. People need to be spoken to. People need to really know that Africa has to take the bull by the horn. And when we design or adopt policies at the African regional level, we need to think differently. And we want her to speak to the peer review mechanism within the African Union. I think it was ill-conceived. Maybe the intentions were good, but it was faulty at the level of conceptualization in terms of the composition of the members of that particular body. And then the implementation, everything is still left to the vagaries of the thinking of African leaders. Well, I'm sorry, I've spoken for so long, but I haven't really grasped everything that was said because, like I said earlier, I was locked out and I had to struggle back into the meeting. So far, I think I've made some sense. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, everyone that's present. And thank you for the zeal and the drive to continue to want to preserve ourselves and to self-determine, because we deserve it and it's long overdue. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Eshegoma. Thank you. And Ambassador is out again. I guess it's the network because she's driving. But in the meantime, Barrister Talabi, happy birthday to you, sir. It's belated, but people danced and they prayed for you last week. We saw you in and out of the meeting, and you were prayed for. And Sister Chinu, she danced like I've never seen her dance before. Others also, Sister Yemisi and the rest of them. So, but I don't know.
Me to dance at Sister Beam.
That's true. Mrs. Apacha and Mrs. Marquis. Miss Marquis danced. And so I don't know if you have anything to say regarding what Ambassador Africana has been speaking to us about. When she's back at the meeting, we can't obviously put her on. But in the meantime, if you have anything to say, please.
The little I can say, a lot has been said about this. My thanks go to the ambassador for taking time to address us this afternoon. Be happy, and we learn a lot by her. But the problem I'm having about is that our intention and our main aim is to decolonize ourselves from the European and also from the power in Nigeria, to have our own nation where we can decide and get out of the culture of what is going on in Africa. Because in all African nations, I've never seen development. They call us developing nation. It's because of we have the intellectual, but we don't put it in practice. There's nothing makes these Europeans first class or developed nation that we don't have. But how to put it down in practice, how to make our nation great. Unfortunately, those who are leading us, they are just next to each other. It's just like Orodile. It's Milokon. I'm next. It's selection. So we don't get the proper people to lead us. And if we continue like this, we'll be developing nation forever. So the only way we can is that let us be a small nation first, which is great, from Nigeria. Then from there, we develop region by region. That's what I would like to say, which is not exactly what our ambassador was telling us. I wish we can continue and make our own little state out of Nigeria and decide, use our expertise and see what we are going to be in a few years. That's only what I need to add.
Thank you. I think Dr. Ifule wants to respond to you, sir. Dr. Ifule.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Yes, I wanted to respond. My dear Barrister, so make sure, compared to Ogedengbe, I like to call you Otinu, I like to call you Senior Barrister. What you said is very true. Very, very true. However, you see, now, Barrister Ogedengbe is going to help me with this away. Nǹkan tó ń ṣe tó wà lórí omi tó ń jó lórí omi, help me with that.
Tó ń jó lórí omi.
Nílùú ẹ̀ wá nsàlẹ̀.
Wà nsàlẹ̀, exactly. Sherry, you are very right. Amotekun is also right. Nipe, why don't we get our own nation out first, and then Ali Tabati settle Atunle take it on. But in Kwatokosiwa, we have to understand what got us into where we are right now. A really great nation is being subjugated by a lesser nation within the country is because Ngwatonjo lórí omi onílù ẹ̀ wà nsàlẹ̀, onílù ẹ̀ gangan is what the ambassador spoke about. So unless we decolonize our mind from what they have done to us since way back the past 3-4 centuries, unless we decolonize our mind from there, we may Tabatunde new nation, we may continue the same mindset. So basically, my own opinion is a mindset that is wrong. That's why a great nation could be colonized by less great nation. And that's why the less great nation themselves, because they are also victim of what we're talking about. That's why the less great nation toward north of the Niger, that's how they themselves were colonized in 1903. You see, they were colonized in 1903. And they now use them as a tool after 1914 to come and colonize us down south. And this colonization really became more noticeable after 1960, 1963. But nǹkan tó wà lórí omi yẹn, àwọn èèyàn wa tó wà ní north of the river Niger, tó wà lórí omi yẹn, nǹkan tó ń lùlù fún wọn wà nsàlẹ̀, nǹkan tó ń lùlù fún wọn yẹn la gbọ́dọ̀ kọ́kọ́ understand. Then we'll be in a better position to move on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mo fẹ́ add nǹkan sí nǹkan tí Dr. Ifule sọ. Yoruba, sorry, I'll say it in English, is that all things work together for the good. And recently, right or wrong, a letter was presented to the British High Commission, to the, what do you call it? Number 10 Directorate.
Prime Minister.
The response from the British is, we don't interfere. One of the responses, we don't interfere in people's internal affairs. They do not interfere with people's internal affairs. And they get series of letters like that every day. You would think that would be the end of the matter. Because I understand the Nigerian official summoned the British ambassador in Lagos, and that was the position both home and abroad the British took. Just barely less than a couple of days afterwards, we got an advice that it would be good for Nigeria to be together for another 50 years. Now, for those who do not interfere, Yoruba will say, Yara Nibrin. So, Nkochi Ambassador Soleni, look, the same problem will change. Tactics may change, but the same problem, and for us, as a Yoruba self-determination organization, we need to look at issue holistically. Yoruba will say, if you don't know where you're coming, you won't know where you're going. We need to look back and use our current situation to negotiate where we are going. So Ishewa Tamashi is threefold: where we were, where we are, and where we are going. And Ikonde because even in Yoruba nation, self-preservation is key. Is key in Yoruba nation. And as African, is key. I mean, Gambia is not even the size of my state of Osun, but they're sovereign. And they understand what it is to be self-preserved. And we need to do that. And at the same time, knowing who we are and how we were before 1884 and before Lugard is the reason why we are saying that we want a fair shake to Ayarawa. You get what I'm saying? And this, some people may not get this message because they haven't even got to that level of self-preservation of the Yoruba people yet. But we need to look ahead. Àwọn ọmọ wa wọ́n láti gbọ́ messages. Our kids need to hear messages like this. Wait for me at the meeting. I was taught, not because you are arrogant, that if there are spaces that have not been reserved in a meeting that you are attending, go right to the front. Don't sit at the back, which was exactly what the ambassador was saying today. It's about mindset. And we need to hear these messages either in our struggle to get out of Nigeria, or to represent Africa, not just Nigeria, to represent Nigeria in the Committee of Nations and to represent Africa. It's one of the reasons why today many people may self-awareness is the reason why we will not criticize Tinubu publicly. Yoruba will say, Kalero lono, Kafa Bobadiye. You get what I'm saying? Litara lopo, tori ni rira lo gogo, to badi bayen. And Yoruba will say, Bami no mommy, kodenu olomo. These are some of the things. It's about mindset. It's about mindset. Tó bá débi aláwọn èèyàn àgbàlagbà tán lè fọ̀rọ̀ lọ, wọ́n lè ná, wọ́n lè ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀. But for those people who don't even want to know anything, tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n fẹ́ ká para wa ni, it's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. So self-awareness, self-preservation are things that we can be taught. And the most important thing for us to be a good student and reflect on things. Tó jẹ́ pé a lè má rí bẹ́ẹ̀. I beg tell it, but there are so many ways, only on a waja. So there's so many ways we can perceive things, and a good student, we will learn from each other, and that's what exactly we are doing. Emma Binupe opinion to me for there. Sister Tinu Mefeba. Sister Tinu, I can see you raise up your hand. Please.
Yes, please. Mo raise our mi nítorí mo kind of support everything tí ẹ sọ àti Dr. Oyefule náà in response to àwọn barrister wa Dádì Tàlàbí, and nǹkan tí mo kàn fẹ́ fi kún náà ni wípé just to start from the angle tẹ́ sọ pé àwọn ará 10 Downing lọ́dọ̀ yín bẹ̀ yẹn nígbà tí wọ́n gbé lẹ́tà wọlé for self-determination and all that pé for Yorùbá nation, àwọn náà sọ pé they don't meddle into the affairs of any nation, especially sovereign one at that, like Nigeria, right? And the temerity, the audacity they now have to say pé, to advise for 50 years, pé kán tún ṣì dúró fún 50 years. Who are they? So táwa bá wá ní, oh, okay, yeah, let's do 50 years. Kí la ṣe yẹn? The colonized mind. Àti break forth, àti breakthrough from it. But we need to. And who are they? Tá ń gba permission lọ́wọ́ wọn láti jẹ́ who we are. Think about that. Tá bá rò yẹn, tá lè ṣe nǹkan fúnra wa. Ọ̀rẹ́ mi kan ní Nàìjíríà náà ni wọ́n lawyer ni, very good advocate báyìí náà ni ó máa ń sọ, ọkùnrin ni ó máa ń sọ pé Tinú ṣó mọ̀ pé ńgbà míì action àti activity máa ń wà níwájú, law máa ń wá bá nígbà míì. So tí a bá take bull by the horn yẹn, àwọn fúnra wọn wọn ò ní sọtẹ́ wọn ò ní come into place láti lè wá or align to nǹkan táwa fúnra wa rò ṣọ́rọ̀ mi yé yín so ẹ̀yin sọ fún wa 50 years in one breath ẹ̀ ń sọ pé ẹ má àkíndà sí on the other ẹ̀ advice wa as a superior being to us because we led them. So nǹkan tèmi fẹ́ kárí nìyẹn nǹkan tá ambassador sọ mo sì ń sọ lẹ́nu àbọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ là ń sọ fọ́mọlúàbí tó bá dénú ẹ̀ àdòdìdì. She is a Zimbabwean and she has some of her cousins on the other side of the river, Zambia. But she will not say she's not a Zimbabwean. She's a Zimbabwean first. I tribe first because that's who she is. Like I'm Yoruba. Nobody can take that away from you. So, but fighting that amongst ourselves, we need to do. And also because our leaders were, we will now force them to see what we see so that can not sort. But all these things is all about economics. And the reason it's fair kí anything kó ṣe tẹ́ bá wo lọ tẹ́ wò bọ̀ olè ìjẹkújẹ ojúkòkòrò tiwọn òun náà ń wá ń bẹ̀. Ẹ ṣé.
Thank you, Tashinu. Dr. Yefule, over to you, sir.
Ẹ mà ṣe gan ni o. Sister Tinu béèrè pé who are they? I'll tell you who they think they are. They think they're superior to you, and they think you are inferior to them. And unfortunately, most of us have that mindset. What the ambassador is saying, which I fully support, we have to lay a little low that mindset. We have to understand the fact some of us, some people, and I won't mention a name, made third class in a Nigerian university. If I see Western University, they all scored A, enough to make second class. Somebody said they made first class, somebody said they made a second class upper. But whatever it was they made in UK was less than they made in Nigeria. Tiyo Basho in your town so ye is particularly very intelligent. There's no other reason, there's no other example one can use in explaining this. Cherry, we have to understand we are not inferior to them. We have to also understand that they are not N-O-T, capital N, capital O, capital T, not superior to us at all. They're not. Undergraduate, those who came overseas after going to school in Nigeria, you may not be able to, you may not be chanced to experience the type of thing I'm going to talk about next. Those of us who left after high school or higher school into foreign countries, when they made B's, we made A's. I remember when people were laughing at me, hey, Oyefule, do you have a brain for, do you have a elephant's brain? How come you know so much? When I won't worry. Who's 10 times smarter than me, who's still at home? They know that we're not inferior brain at all. They know that.
Thank you.
But no, sorry, but the game plan to Joy is to let us continue to believe that we're inferior to them, and by virtue of the lighter skin color, they're superior to us, until we are able to pick that up, and it's actually based also supporting what ambassador. So unless we're able to pick that up and do all we can to start disbelieving it, we may have a very difficult time to move forward. Thank you, Barrister.
Thank you very much, sir. Eshigo. I can see the ambassador is back with us.
Great.
time is fast running out, and I see the other ambassador also have a question. And but before I come to the Ambassador Tokumbo, I'd like to read what one of our sisters actually wrote on the wall. Sister Anitra Butler wrote, she said, my question for Ambassador, for Excellency, is my heart is saddened by the amount of young lives lost in the Gen Z protest in Kenya. Not much has changed since the Gen Z protest. Gen Z believe their ways is perhaps, sorry, I'm just trying to scroll up. Yeah, sorry. Sorry. God, this thing is, I'm trying to get a message. Okay, I'm getting there.
Can I read it for you?
Perhaps their ways better than the elders. How do we work with them in helping to shape the Africa that we want? That's a question to you. Welcome back, man.
Thank you so much. My apologies. I'm using a GPS, and sometimes I'm afraid I'll get lost, so I'll log out. The issue of the Gen Z in Kenya, let me be very clear to you. The NATO nations and the Western nations are on full force. Our children are red meat for those Western nations. It's no surprise that you have a country like France having an annual France-Africa Youth Summit. Excuse me? What for? They're busy identifying young African brains and young African prospective leaders of tomorrow. I'm sorry to tell you, my brothers and sisters, that as we speak, the youth have been so infiltrated. That movement that started in Kenya is falling apart because our young people are being infiltrated. You have NGOs that are offering them trinkets. It goes back again to the mind. They're not going to succeed because the infiltration is deep. They're winning them over with trinkets. Sadly, not only are they winning the youth with trinkets, they are also winning even the elders within the government that are supposed to be supporting them. They too are being bought out to behave a certain way. Sad, but that's our reality. So again, what we need is a critical mass of the youth and the elders who are awoken and refuse to sell ourselves for peanuts. And that's what's happening with the movement in Kenya, and it's going to happen with the movement in Nigeria, should we have a movement. So for us to succeed, we must take a page out of what happened in those three countries. And let's see what we can do to create that critical mass of people who understand it. That's what it's going to take. But the infiltration is a serious problem for us Africans, even though what started out in Kenya is a very good thing. But unfortunately, we may not get the results that we hope to achieve.
But it's
Ambassador Tokumbo,
yes.
You raised your hand.
Yes, I did. But when Ambassador Arikana started speaking, I decided to just to lower it. But actually, what I was going to say, I was going to speak in terms of the statement that we are not prepared to interfere in the affairs of sovereign nations vis-a-vis the council that Nigeria needs to stay together for the next 50 years. You see, if you didn't, in Yoruba, don't they say Togiri Yoruba laenu, alangba ole wobe? Who counseled them? Who gave that counsel to take a letter to the Prime Minister of the UK That's a very, very bad counsel. It shows that it shows ignorance. It shows you don't know what you're doing. It shows that you really are not, you are not deep in what nationhood is all about. It shows that you feel subservient to your former colonial masters, thinking they are the ones who will rescue your nation from whatever you think is going wrong there. Because if you don't feel inferior to a particular person or a group of person or a nation, like in this case, you don't go to them asking for what to do. You see, the way we can move forward now in addressing the need for having a critical mass of people with knowledge who can change things in Nigeria or in Africa as a whole is for us to use that tool they call the Nigeria Diaspora Commission. That tool, that office is not doing what it should do. The Nigeria Diaspora Commission, in my opinion, is not for rescuing Nigerians from jails. It's not for negotiating Nigerians out of life sentences abroad. That commission is supposed to begin to engage, to leverage on the skill sets of the diaspora vis-a-vis development, conceptualization of the development policies, program development, program implementation, monitoring and evaluation, and so on in Nigeria. You will bring in the diaspora. There should be a program to bring in the diaspora intervention into all we're planning to do and all that we're doing in Nigeria. That is how you can now develop the critical mass, because now it appears as if it's only people in the diaspora, well, not everybody, that's looking at Nigeria from a distance, that is beginning to discern the good and the bad from what's going on there. But if that tool of Nigeria in Diaspora Commission is correctly utilized, I'm sure we can develop the critical mass of both elders and youths that Ambassador Arikana just spoke about. We can, because we have gone through technical cooperation among developing countries. That one was preceded by North-South cooperation and transfer of technology. We have seen that no technology is being transferred or knowledge from the north to the south. And then we came to technical cooperation among developing countries. That's what we should be doing. The Nigerians in diaspora, they are experts. I mean, they are expatriates to Nigeria. So we should utilize their skills as we utilize and depend and rely and trust the skills of the white-skinned expatriates. That is what the Diaspora Commission should be doing. And if that was done, we'll be able to develop the critical mass. Because when Nigerians in diaspora come into Nigeria to help with policy development, they'll be importing their diaspora knowledge into what is on ground in Nigeria. And you'll be meeting Nigerian public servants from the age of leaving university, 23, and so on. Those are still youths. That knowledge and the skill sets that is being brought in will begin to gradually develop the critical mass of youth that we require. And at the same time, those that are older in the public service will begin to gain from them. Because everything starts and ends with the public service in every country. The policymakers are public servants. People in the private sectors don't make policies, hardly, particularly not in Nigeria. So that is where we need to target. That's just one thing I want to say. I just, when she spoke about we need a critical mass of youths and elders, that's the only way I think we can go. And all these things that the ambassador is telling us, I think they'll be even more useful for us when we have our nation. That's how I want to conclude it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eshegoma. Thank you. Dr. Ifule, please get ready because you'll be doing the vote of thanks. And I think Ambassador has done greatly today. But before I call on you, sir, there's a question from iPhone. I don't know whose name that is, iPhone, on the platform. The question, I think let me just read out the post. Say, we have learned enough from where we are coming from. I don't think so. I'm just going to respond to the question, because when we say we have learned enough, I don't think we have. there are quite a lot of us that still enjoy being Nigerian. They don't, they want to be Nigerian. And we have people who believe the status quo, there's nothing wrong with it. They're so fixated with the name Nigeria that they don't want to be anything. They don't even want to be a Yoruba Nigerian like you find an Italian or French American say, I'm a French or Puerto Rican, Mexican American. So they're so fixated. Nothing about being Yoruba first is a priority to them. And where we are right now, those in the self-determination group can say, yeah, we know. We're not saying we have it all, but look, somebody, a jester once said, you see, and some people want restructuring. If restructuring or regionalism is going to lead, is going to be a way to sovereignty, autonomy leading to sovereignty, well, people have to debate. This is why we have often spoken about the need to carry the people along. And the only way we can know the express will of the people will be in a referendum, which at the moment we're far from doing. So we know our problems. Yes, we do. Our self-determination, organization, and probably those in the restructuring. But those who want the status quo do not know. And how do we get our mindset in order to move forward? How? By listening to messages like this over and over and over again, knowing that. And I'll give you an example. There was a football match in England. Alex Ferguson, the white Scottish manager of Man United, and Ruud Gullit, a Dutch black man. The man, they were standing in the tunnel leading their team out. He was looking straight, and being a humble man, he wasn't anxious to go and shake Alex Ferguson. Alex went to him, then he shook hands. The question is, we need to change our mindset by stop selling ourselves cheap. And then, Yoruba, Tembelekun, Iwote. If I can't beat them, I'll destroy them. If I can't work with you, I'll work with your enemies. Well, instead, this is where we should be doing Umi or Lota, but we're not like that. So the way forward for us, how do we get the colonial mindset? Ibita develop to Larawa, myself and Ambassador, I believe we were discussing this week about these things, that you are there giving an address and somebody saying, no, we mean not to roll. Koro, but in order just to pull you down, we want to outdo each other. Talo Gajulaba, Iminimo Gajulaba, when the common good of the people should be our focus. Àwọn àrùn tá a ní nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, àwọn àrùn yẹn la gbọ́dọ̀ deal pẹ̀lú. Tá a bá put interest àwọn èèyàn first, my people first. It's not about me. Many people just want to be heard. Many want their face to be famous, to be popular. So as a result, we pull each other down. The most important thing we need to do, we neglect that. So kì í ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ni òyìnbó fi ń bá wa jà. Because even during the slavery, aláwọn èèyàn tó Britain ara wa, àrùn ilé títí wa náà káwa náà kọ́kọ́ tún sọ̀vẹ̀ náà. Abẹ́gẹ́, tá a bá lè sọ yẹn, Yorùbá ò ṣe bí ikú ilé ò pa ni tòde ò lè pa ni. We suggest that ikú wà nínú ilé, ikú wà níta. Bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n dẹ̀ ní tólòdì ò bá kú, ojúde ò ní orúkọ. So àwọn koríko nílé wa káwa náà fúnra wa, àwọn nǹkan tá a lè ṣe nínú ìwà jákujáku. Ẹ máa wo àwọn ọmọ Igbo, I can call their name. They don't ask you questions. Fulani won't ask you questions. Somebody is beating their sister, gbogbo wọn máa pa ọ̀pọ̀ wọn máa nà yín ni. But tiwa yàtọ̀, àwa máa ní kí ló dé. Ojú ẹ̀ náà láti máa sọ fún àwọn aráalé wa. Wípé kínní, ẹ wo nǹkan tí Tinubu ṣe ń sìn yìí. A lè má like ẹ̀, a lè má campaign fún. Tó bá ṣe dáadáa nínú ilé wa, Yorùbá ní inú ilé èèyàn lèèyàn ti ń jìkùtélé onídòdó. Inú ilé wa ni, but no, ọmọ Yorùbá ló máa sọ wípé obedient. Tẹ̀dẹ̀mọ́ antecedent àwọn people gbogbo wàhálà Nàìjíríà lè ní àwọn náà dálẹ̀. Ìkọ́nu wọn mo sì ṣe Igbo kíní yẹn. Then the same thing with those on the other side tá à ń sọ, àkáyé ṣera wa léṣe mọ́. Ọ̀tẹ̀ pẹ̀lú rìkíṣí ìwà ìbàjẹ́ láàrin Yorùbá. Ó ń balẹ̀ jẹ́, ó ń bẹgbẹ́ jẹ́. Abeg get, we need to stop all those. kì í ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ ní òyìnbó ṣe ti gbogbo ẹ̀ because tá a bá dira wa ní òṣùṣù ọwọ̀ tógiri ò bá lanu aláǹgbá ò ní wọbẹ̀ so àwa náà ní lọ́wọ́ àwọn nǹkan tá à ń dẹ́ sọ every week nìyẹn Yorùbá ní tí a bá bá onílé wí tá a bá kíní ká máa sọ pé ibi tó ní nǹkan fi nǹkan sí kò dáa abẹ́ẹ̀gẹ́ so we need to address those things within us also tá a bá lè ṣe yẹn àwọn tó bá dúró ní kíní á difficult o wọ́n ní because àìkọ́wọ́rìn pọ̀ ló ń jẹ ọmọ ló ń fi ìyà jẹ ọmọ ejò so kálán bí àwa gan ṣe lè bára wa ṣe kẹgbẹ́ yé kú mọ́ abẹ́ẹ̀gẹ́ look at the last couple of months in Yoruba nation the faces and the voices you hear what happened everybody has gbogbo ọ̀nà ní reason ẹlòmíì ti gba passport ó ti disappear nítorí kíni and most of us orí ọ̀fẹ́ alẹ́ lọ Nigeria Dr. Ifule often say how long he's been abroad àwọn ọmọ wọn lè bẹ́ẹ̀ gbé máàpù Nigeria lé wọn lọ́wọ́ wọn lè má dàdé lé granddad abẹ́ẹ̀gẹ́ so nobody has anything to gain abẹ́ẹ̀gẹ́ but for our people ìyẹn ló ṣe pàtàkì jù Louis Farrakhan had the same mindset when he was defending Nigeria anybody tí o bá ti rí fídíò yẹn kó wo Louis Farrakhan only how long have you been free leave them let them solve their own problem so bá a ṣe gbọ́dọ̀ máa ṣe ní àgbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ kára àtà máa attack wa so mindset wa ni there's a scripture that says the way as a man thinketh so he becomes begin to live who you are not who you see yourself to be òun ló jẹ́ ká ambassador kò ní wait for me I'm a king you wait and when you wait all eyes will turn you can either say oh my late girl but you know one thing what you say will make a difference you can't be coconut or if you choose to be coconut that's your problem and the word coconut means being a particular color inside and another outside but Amorawa so that's all I've got to say thank you for the iPhone for that question I hope it makes sense but Dr. Ifule ẹ ṣé gan ẹ wá bá wa dúpẹ́ tí màmá wa tán bá sí the beauty of Africa look at that she's from the other side we're here but we're one màmá wa tí màmá wa bá rí fídíò yìí àbáwọn èèyàn tán rí kọ́ mọ̀ pé àpọ́nlé ó wà nílẹ̀ Yorùbá adẹ̀ ní èèyàn yìí ni wá a fẹ́ràn ara wa pé ká ṣèkan yẹn ó wà ńbẹ̀ over to you doctor thank you sir.
Thank you Barrister ẹ ṣé gan ni. Well, on behalf of the Directorate, I would like to express a great gratitude for every single person here today. I will also like, or in particular, like to thank Her Excellency, Ambassador Arikana Chihombori Wow, for her presence and such a great presence with us today. We have learned a lot, we have introspected, and your words will carry us further and it will carry Africa further. I would like to thank the entire Directorate staff for giving us the opportunity to listen to the ambassador. And once again, I thank one and all who are present here today. Thank you very much. Over to you, Barrister.